I would like to call to order tonight's regular meeting of the CUSD 201 Board of Education, September 27th, 2016. Roll call, please.
Ms. Ambrose. Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mrs. Charlton.
Here.
Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Notbush.
Here.
Mr. Price.
Here.
Ms. Wilson. Thank you.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the September 13, 2016 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the September 13, 2016 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, public comments. First, we will start with Celebrate Success from the WTA.
And that will be lower school.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us speak tonight. We have three people who are going to be presenting things tonight, but they will be brief. One of the first things we wanted to talk about tonight was at Miller School, if you haven't heard already, has been named one of the third best public school in DuPage County, with from Chicago Magazine, the September issue, and I have the actual issue.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
We all know you, but could you just
I'm
introduce
sorry.
yourself so that those at home can?
I'm Loretta Peggy Chapinski, the ELL teacher from Miller School.
Okay,
Just
thank
a little
you.
inside joke. So in the September issue of Chicago Magazine, they compiled a list of the top 155 elementary school and high schools in the collar counties and in Chicago: Lake, McHenry, Will, Kane, DuPage, the collar county of Cook, and in the city of Chicago itself. Based on the amount of spending that districts do per student, the park scores, attendance of students, and the 5 Essentials survey. These are the criteria they used in order to judge the competency of the schools. So Miller School was ranked third in DuPage County by this magazine, and we are very proud of this accomplishment, and we thank everyone who has contributed to making this possible, from our very accomplished teachers to our stellar support staff, without whom we could not have achieved this honorable goal. Next, Mrs. Jennifer Kajawa is going to present to you on the concept of mindset that she has been presenting in her class.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Kajawa, and I'm a third grade teacher at Miller School. Tonight, I'd like to highlight how I'm establishing my classroom as a growth mindset environment. At our August Institute Day, Mr. Carey shared with us this vision. As a teacher beginning a new school year, I wanted to lay a foundation of growth, knowing that I have the ability to influence my students. After receiving and reading the books Mindset in the Classroom on the Institute Day, I immediately set a goal that every one of my students will leave my classroom with a growth mindset and the belief that with effort and perseverance, they truly can do anything that they set their mind to. In reading the research that Carol Dweck pioneered in her book Mindset on fixed versus growth mindset, it changed my thinking and my approach to how I provide praise and feedback to my students. I focus more on praising the process, the strategy used, and the effort that the students demonstrate. In order to plan, In order to plan for effective differentiated instruction, I use this pre-assessment strategy from my sense of the classroom as a way to activate background knowledge and find out what students know about the brain and how it functions. This provided me with a baseline of where to begin. The pre-assessments range from drawing spaghetti-like lines, like the squiggly lines to represent the brain, to in-depth drawings as the one that is demonstrated on the slide. As Jada wrote, it helps me learn and stores the data and the information I already know, but it still has plenty of space for things that I don't know as well. So I thought that was quite insightful. Next, my class worked in groups answering these fixed mindset questions. My goal was for the students to first individually brainstorm great growth mindset responses and then collaboratively generate a group response. And these are some of the questions that they have, like what can you say instead of I don't understand? Why is this a better choice? So we started with these types of fixed mindset questions that I hear a lot as the curriculum gets more challenging in third grade. So I really wanted the students to kind of think and start with that growth mindset of ideas. So this is just a couple of examples where they had their sticky notes and they wrote their individual responses and came up with one response altogether. So growth mindset is changing your thinking, and we learn how to do the same things in different ways. Instead of giving up, I will try again to improve. I'll try again and do a different strategy. So they have lots of insightful responses. By introducing the growth mindset into my classroom at the beginning of the year, I believe I can build a culture of growth that will support my students as learners all year long. Now I'd like to share with you 2 short video clips of students describing a growth mindset in their own words. And one of the things I did enjoy that when the kids came up, they said, growth mindset, it's just all it is thinking you can do something that you thought you couldn't do. So I thought that was pretty insightful as well. So here are a couple of my students.
What does growth mindset mean to you?
Growth mindset means when you try your best and you don't give up no matter what, because even if something's hard, maybe in 10 years you'll be a world class at it. And
I apologize for the audio.
up here we have everything. Growth mindset, how other people
What
think.
they're saying is
one
they're
of them
using
is
some of the
mine.
charts that I have to kind of come up with their own, instead of saying this and say, I can't do
I
this,
really
we'll
think
lose
that
our
growth mindset is
So they
trying
really
your
use the
best
charts
and
that we
not
talked
giving up,
about and the
because if you
strategies
give
to
up,
really
then
implement this.
maybe
So this is,
you won't
it's a
have-
beginning, it's a
maybe
work in
you'll have a test and you'll be like,
progress,
well,
but
I
I'm
gave
really
up
pleased
last
with
time,
it.
so now I don't know.
And
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christy Piatek, and I'm a reading specialist at Miller School, and this is Tracy Billy, and she's our instructional coach, and Nancy Nanalig is our bilingual reading interventionist. And the 3 of us, for the first couple weeks of school, worked on improving our Miller School book room. Our purpose for doing this was to create a user-friendly and more accessible system for teachers to check out books for their guided reading groups, to create a Spanish literacy library, to create a reading assessment room that is simple and practical, and to increase the amount of leveled readers in our book room for our teachers to use.
To give you an idea of what the reason why we did this Miller book room makeover, this is what our book room used to look like before we began our makeover. As you can see, it's disorganized. The books are scattered. They're leveled, but not necessarily in the correct bins. It kind of looks like a mess. Oops. This was during our construction, thanks to our wonderful principal, Mr. Weiler. He helped with the construction and taking down the shelves and worked with us on organizing and getting ready for our makeover. The 3 of us have worked very hard on organizing our book room to make sure that the books were leveled according to our Fountas and Pinnell leveling system. We also created a database for all of the teachers to use with it that they can access that includes all of the book titles and how many book titles we have of each. We created an easy checkout system for the teachers to easily access the books and to check out to use during their guided reading groups. We also created an assessment room where teachers can check out their Fountas and Pinnell kits right before their testing time of the year, which happens 3 times a year, and then it also happens throughout the year for those that we are progress monitoring or watching over. So this is an easy assessment room for teachers to access. And we also added books to our growing Spanish book room.
So the book room didn't have a Spanish section. Now there is. It's a small, growing section of the book room. As the dual language program grows, our Spanish section hopefully will continue to grow. It's still small, but last year we added our science and social studies leveled readers in Spanish to the book room, and we hope to continue to add more books in Spanish this year as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a family room that needs some organizing. Can set up a time, maybe Tim can come and take some shelves.
You know the right people to call.
Okay, is that it from the WTA? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, are there any other public comments? Okay, we will now conduct the public hearing on the 2016-2017 budget. The President of the Board of Education calls the public hearing to order regarding the proposed 2016-2017 budget.
Okay, good evening. I have the final budget to present. We'll just wait for them to put it up on the screen.
Can you pull the mic a little closer?
All right. Can you go see if you can pull that up? Oh, here we go. Here's it. Okay, all right, here we go. All right. So first of all, we have our revenues by source. For all funds, total revenue is a little over 27 million, and in our operating funds, 25 million. And as you can see, property taxes in our operating funds are the largest component at 83%, state sources 8.7%, federal 3%, and other local at 5%. And then all funds, again, property taxes are the largest portion of our revenue, and state and federal and other local are run very small components of that. Our tax levy is composed of a CPI of 0.8% for 2015 and 0.7% for the 2016 levy. And again, property taxes are the largest source of our revenue. Interest rates have increased slightly this year, but they're still extremely low. We do have an increase of $150,000 in general state aid over the 2015-16 amount. Our transportation revenue continues to be prorated. We still do not know what that revenue is going to be for this year. The state has not given us that funding yet. And the governor passed funding for the schools, but not a state budget for the second year in a row. Our expenditures by object, again, we have total expenditures of $37.8 million. Our operating funds are $27.4. There's a large difference this year because of all the capital projects. We're going to do spend about $8.7 million for capital projects this year. And that was for all the summer construction that we did, all the security and renovations at the high school, junior high, at Manning and Miller. So you can see that salaries, again, are the largest portion of our budget. Non-capitalized equipment is a very small portion at 0.5. We have tuition. Benefits are about 13%, and purchase services 12%. Supplies of just about 6%. And then, with all funds, salaries, biggest component, but again, much smaller percentage because we have 23% of our budget as capital projects this year. So the expenditure assumptions, salaries are per the WTA and WCMA contracts. WESPA salaries have not been finalized pending contract settlement. And the administrator and non-union support personnel salaries have not been finalized either. The O&M fund includes anticipated projects such as roof repairs at the high school, some concrete replacement, purchasing of a new mower with a blower attachment. The capital projects fund, again, has the safety and security renovations that took place at the high school, are continuing there, the junior high, Manning and Miller, and then anticipated costs for the summer of 2017. And then other initiatives in this budget, the dual language program expansion to 3rd grade, expanded summer school offerings district-wide, additional one-to-one technology deployment at the high school, and the upgrade of the Wi-Fi and network infrastructure throughout for the district. And then you can see our fund balance summary. So overall, the top area is our operating funds, and that we model after our PMA 5-year plan. So total operating deficit is $1.6 million, and our ed fund is about 1.1 of that. O&M is $466,000, and again, the O&M, that is planned deficit spending. And then the restricted funds, it shows the transfers for capital projects. If you look at the very bottom, the deficit in our restricted funds is $9 million, but again, that's because of the capital projects. So some of the things that we consider for the budget, our revenue projections are conservative. Our expenditures are based on our anticipated needs and exceed current revenues in the operating funds. And the 2016-17 budget is aligned with the board and district goals to provide educational services to the students and families we serve, and our fund balances ratios meet district guidelines. So again, we typically come in better than normal. Last year, we actually had a little bit of deficit spending for 15-16, and so again, we just need to monitor our spending and make sure that that trend does not continue or get too large. Does anybody have questions?
Just a very easy one. What is the general state aid increase of $150,000? That was what the governor just deciding the school district needed more money? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, just the way that they funded
Okay.
it this year. So
All right.
not sure where it's coming from, but
Not
it's
sure
there.
either, but okay.
So on the flip side of that, I will ask the question that we have been talking about, and I'm sure we don't have an answer because you would have told us by now. However, we are all still waiting to hear about, like, the pension shifts and that, and coming to the
Oh.
district. Do you have any, have
No
you, in
updates.
your wisdom and discussing with other business managers, have any updates?
Yeah, nothing.
Most
Yeah.
likely not.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be at some point, but, I mean, some point.
Again, it's just
we'll-
always something to have in there to
Right.
continue to model.
Right.
And then obviously if those things take place, there'll be larger discussions.
Well, that's my point, is that this is, we are operating in a deficit, so that could certainly continue that trend. And then I had one other question. Okay, no, that was it, we answered it, okay. Now, the president asks that there are additional comments from the members of the Board of Ed regarding the proposed 2016-17 budget.
No.
Okay. The president asks if there are any public comments concerning the proposed 2016-17 budget.
Assuming my field house isn't in the budget.
No, it is not.
Gotta keep trying.
All right, the president then declares the public hearing on the proposed 2016-2017 budget is closed.
All right, thank you.
All right. The next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Any comments or questions? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendations. Employment of support staff. Natasha Derlevsky, paraprofessional, Miller Elementary School. Sabrina Reinman, full-time secretary at Westmont Junior High School. Sabrina Centeno, full-time media aide, Westmont Junior High School and Manning Elementary School. Patricia Anaya, part-time secretary health aide, Westmont Junior High School. Employment of licensed staff, Veronica Sanchez, first grade dual language teacher, Miller Elementary School. Stipend positions, Alexandra Harrison, from .5 FTE to .75 FTE, Palms Dance Teach Coach at Dance Team Coach at Westmont Senior High School. Rochelle Wilder, .25 FTE, Palms Dance Team Coach, Westmont Senior High. 2, dismissal of educational support personnel employee for reasons other than reduction in force. Approve a resolution authorizing the dismissal of educational support personnel employee Patrick Joyce for reasons other than reduction in force. 3, approval of application for recognition of students. Schools, thank you. 4, approval of student tour requests. 5, approval of September 2016 expenditure report. 6, ratification of August 2016 regular payroll. And 7, resolution to abate working cash funds.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go into discussion, I have a little piece of business that I would like to share. The Community Unit School District Board of Education and the Westmont Educational Support Personnel Association, WESPA, are happy to share that a tentative agreement was reached on Saturday, September 17th, 2016. And we are also happy to report that today, WESPA members voted to ratify the contract with a unanimous vote. It was the combined efforts of the negotiating teams that allowed an agreement to be reached late into the evening. Later tonight, the board will vote to accept this agreement. Okay, now we'll move into discussion items. Presentation of monthly financial statements.
Okay, we have the June 30, 2016 financial statements for you. During the month of June, the district received $117,000 from the state. The state has vouchered $366,000 of FY16 payments that have not been released at this time, and the majority of that is for the fourth quarter categorical payments. We did receive the first 2 installments of the 2015 tax levy, and that amounted to $11.5 million, which was a 50.61% collection rate, which was just slightly higher, about 1% higher than the prior year. In the education fund, we received the $116,000, and the state has vouchered $208,000 of FY16 payments. And in the transportation fund, they vouchered $157,000, again, for the fourth quarter categoricals. Revenues are where they should be at this time and comparable to prior years. The education fund is 101%. To date, transportation 103% to date. Expenditures and the ed and tort funds are comparable to prior year averages at about 96% overall. And in the O&M fund, expenditures vary slightly, and they're a little bit below prior year. And the O&M fund is 87.7% spent to date. It was 95.7% spent to date last year. And in the transportation fund, expenditures ended the year lower, and part of that, some of that's still timing of payments. We didn't have everything, all the bills by the end of the year. And also our SETTRAN, we had a new contract with them this year, and we weren't sure what that new pricing structure, exactly how that would work, and the cost was a little bit lower than we had anticipated. So overall, a deficit in the operating funds of around $63,000. That's on the cash base. $63,000. That's on the cash basis. Auditors will be in this week, and so we'll have more information after the audit is done. So again, this is the first year, I think, since I've been here, or since in the last at least 4 years, that we've actually had a deficit on a cash basis. So again, not much, much better than we anticipated, but again, need to be mindful
Watch
of
it.
that. Okay, and then all the other reports, fund balance summary, the student activity funds and investments are all there for you. And just one other thing to note on the investments, you'll notice that we have done a lot of investing lately. The majority of that is for the working cash bonds, Series 2016 A and B. And then we've also, we got that tax money in, so started doing some investing with CDs, and you can see the rates are up a little bit more, like 0.7%, 0.5%, still not high, but a lot better than, 0.2 or 0.1 that we were seeing before, so.
Interest earned is interest earned.
That's right. Anybody have any other questions?
Thanks.
Okay. The next item, presentation of ISBE salary compensation report.
Okay. Attached is the ISB salary compensation report. This is a required report that we report administrator and teacher salary and benefits to ISB by October 1st. And we present that information at a school board meeting before posting on the district website. So we will obviously be sending that to ISB later this week and then posting it on the website. And then the path is there that if somebody wants to find that report.
When, we're going to post it on the website after we send it to,
Well, or after this meeting.
after this meeting, okay. All right, then the presentation of the IMRF salary compensation report.
And again, this is another report that we are required to post for all IMRF employees whose compensation package exceeds $75,000 per year. That includes benefits, et cetera. So that is listed, and again, we will be posting that on the district website as well.
All right.
Is there anything that prevents the district from posting everyone's salaries? Because you just got half and half and half, kind of, right?
We could if you would like. These are required.
These are the
postings.
required ones that we have to post, but
Right.
it just,
If the board would like that, we could do that.
I mean, to me, it makes sense. That way you're just open across all the positions.
You're saying all Westboro and all,
Yeah. I mean, it's all public record stuff anyhow.
That's how some districts do it.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they put the stipulations in there that they did, but I mean, they have reasons for adopting the rules and regulations the way they do, but some
I think-
districts do post
yeah.
just everybody's.
post everybody, yeah. I think that's a good idea. What did we,
what would
Did
be the
we-
downside of it? I mean, I can't think of anything that would be a downside of. Kim?
okay,
Okay.
okay, great. Next item on the agenda then is the adoption of the 2016-17 budget.
So attached is the state budget form that we send into the state and also file with the county. And then there is the final board memo, again, which some of those items were presented during the presentation. There was only a few changes to the actual budget from the preliminary. The FY17 final budget changed by $16,090. That deficit a little bit more than presented in the tentative budget, but again, less than our 5-year plan. The noteworthy changes in the ed fund was benefits decreased by $307,000, and then purchase services increased by $367,000. And then there were a few other adjustments, but overall, that ed fund remained unchanged. Again, O&M revenue and expenditures were unchanged from the preliminary. Same with the transportation fund, and as I mentioned earlier, we still don't know what our reimbursement from the state is going to be for that. Typically, we know that by now, but they might be a little bit late. And then the revenue in the IMRF and Social Security Fund was unchanged, but expenditures increased slightly based on projected salary increases for the Westbrook Group. And then, again, we talked about the different initiatives that are listed in this. And again, you know, our primary source of revenue is property taxes, so we try to match our increases to CPI. And then our district operating funds include ed, tort, O&M, transportation, IMRF, and Social Security, so they align with the PMA model. So overall, we're looking at that $1.6 million deficit, but again, I believe we will come in hopefully better than that. And we adopted a fund balance policy 2 years ago, and it states that reserves in the operating funds should equal 45% of the operating budget. And based on our unaudited fund balances, the ratio for FY17 budget is 56.3% compared to 54.84, so actually a little bit higher this year. And all of the individual funds do meet that fund balance ratio, so that's good. And that's one of the gauges that we use to monitor if we need to make adjustments. Does anybody have questions?
No, but I would just like to take a minute to state here that, you know, we hear the word deficit, and every time we talk about money, sometimes some of us get like a glazed look over our face. But it's worth taking a minute to mention the fact that even with this, our priorities are still on the students. And so, with your permission, I'd like to read these 6 things. Enhance summer school offerings district-wide. Staffing needs which address student learning and instructional practices. Dual language program expansion to 3rd grade. Additional one-to-one technology deployment. Concrete replacement and upgrade of Wi-Fi and network infrastructure. So that, I think it does bear repeating that even with this age of uncertainty where we're going, we're still able to give our students additional enhancements. Obviously, Miller's got it rocking over there with everything, but there's nothing but good news coming out of dual language programs. So, and to see these kids all walking around with their one-to-one that other districts in the surrounding area still don't have yet. So, it's a great thing to talk about. So, I just wanted to repeat that. So. Okay, are there any other comments on this? All right. The chair will entertain a motion. Whereas the Board of Education of Community Unit School District Number 201, County of DuPage, State of Illinois, caused to be prepared in tentative form a budget, and the secretary of this board has made the same conveniently available to public inspection for at least 30 days prior to final action thereon. And whereas a public hearing was held as to such budget on the 26th day and the 27th day of September 2016, notice of said hearing was given at least 30 days prior thereto as required by law, and all other legal requirements have been complied with. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of said district as follows. Section 1, that the fiscal year of this school district would be and the same hereby is fixed and declared to be beginning July 1st, 2016 and ending July 30th, 2017. Section 2, that the following budget containing an estimate of amounts available in each fund separately and of expenditures from each be and the same is hereby adopted as the budget of this school district for the said fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, the next item on the agenda is superintendent's report.
Just a couple items for the board. One is that the schools are currently completing the process of the fall map testing, and then also our high school juniors took a practice SAT test in preparation for the new state assessment in the spring, and once we're able to take a look at those results, we will present that information to the board at a future meeting. And then also at our October 11th board meeting, Jack Balderman, the high school principal, will be here to do a presentation to the board updating them on the progress of the high school and the goals for this year. And then also October 25th, John Jonak, the junior high principal, will be at that board meeting to do a presentation on the junior high. So we have those two presentations to look forward to.
Can I ask a quick question now that we just talked about the one-to-one technology. How does the staff, how are they finding the map testing to be going now with the increase of one-to-one technology, especially by taking the units that we did have and then giving them to the elementary schools? Is that
It's
going?
It's helped the
Going?
process, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that, and this will be, I think, this month or October, the one thing that we did notice is bandwidth as we're adding the devices, the bandwidth, but it was monitored during the map testing to make sure that there were no issues. And sometimes it's as simple as, having the login staggered by the students. But by the end of October, we'll address that issue, but it definitely has helped the testing process.
Okay, good.
Kevin, if I could ask just a general question. I know that the state went from the ACT to the SAT test, but can you describe, how different of a test actually is it? Is it conducted entirely different? Is it different topics? Is it?
The focus is still math, science, and English, but yes, it is a significantly different test from both what was the Prairie State, and then we were at Park, and so now a new exam, so it is significantly different. And our
style of the test is different?
The style, not to a large degree, but the types of questions that are being asked, and then, for instance, the science is more reading passages and then answering questions based upon those passages. So that makes it a different test. But our staff is becoming familiar with the test. That's one of the reasons to provide the practice exam as well as for our staff. And our staff then is looking at the item analysis and identifying areas within the curriculum or gaps within the curriculum so that our students are prepared for the exam.
Obviously you want to do it with the juniors. Are you going to be doing anything like maybe for the sophomores or the freshmen to start to prepare them for this SAT change?
I just mentioned the JAC, the PSAT is the sophomore version. And just talked to him about possibly doing some practice PSATs with our sophomores, getting them ready for that exam.
Is there an increase or decrease of essay questions in that?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think there is a written response for it.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Are you finished? Okay. Are there any board reports? I would just like to say the homecoming weekend was a huge success. I know the high school provided a wonderful bonfire after the parade. The parade was well attended, and unfortunately, the football game didn't go as planned, but dance seemed to go off pretty well, so that was a good weekend. It's good to see a town support the schools by having a parade right down the middle of Cass Avenue. Very nice. All right, are there any other public comments? All right, wow, future meetings. One in the next 2 weeks is the school board meeting, October 11th at 7 o'clock, right here at Westmont Village Hall. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining, personnel issues, student discipline, probable litigation, security issues, and to review closed session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Mrs. Notbush.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
We will be voting after closed on the closed session minutes and as well as the WESPA contract. So we will be voting on that after closed. The chair will entertain a motion to retain closed status for the closed session minutes dated February 23rd, 2016, the first closed session of March 8th, 2016, the second closed session of March 8th, 2016, the first closed session of March 22nd, 2016, the second closed session of March 22nd, 2016, the first closed session of April 12th, 2016, the second closed session of April 12th, 2016, April 26, 2016, May 17, 2016, June 21, 2016, July 26, 2016, and August 16, 2016, and release closed session minutes for February 25th, 2016 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the destruction of the verbatim closed session minutes from September 9th, 2014 through February 24th, 2015.
So moved.
Second?
And roll call, please.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes. Okay, the approval of WESPA contract. The chair will entertain a motion to ratify the negotiated agreement between Community Unit School District 201 Board of Education and Westmont Educational Support Personnel Association effective July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.